Can you tell me who you are and what happened in Brussels, please?
I'm Fiona Fitzpatrick, one of the Ballyhea campaign group, and we recently went to Brussels for the second time. We had originally been to Brussels to meet Sharon Bowles, the MEP, in March of this year, and at that meeting she agreed to help us try set up a meeting with ECB officials and also European Commission officials, and that was to give us an opportunity to discuss proposals that we had regarding debt write-down for the country. So we were very lucky and we secured a meeting with Ishtan Shakei, who is the Director of Economies for Member States and the person responsible for the macroeconomic management programme for Ireland. So it was a big deal for us to go to Brussels for this meeting, but it was a very positive experience, I have to say.
I know that even though we're a team and discuss how to keep our heads above water, he wakes at night desperate to try and figure out a way to protect our family from the financial strain we're starting to find ourselves in.
In 2012, 75,000 people left the country, and my eldest daughter was one of them. I live in a small fishing village on the southwest coast of Ireland. I cannot describe to you the effects emigration is having. A whole generation have gone.
So I said, look, what we need is €7 billion, and we're going to give you, what we're supposed to give you is our loan collateral. So we're not giving you ECB, we're actually giving you the loan. So I said we gave them a term sheet and we'd put a pronoun facility together, and we said that's what we need.
So what changed? Why did the ECB then change its mind about the whole principle of this, which I think was described, Philip Boucher Hayes reported from Frankfurt, or he was talking to people in Frankfurt, they described it as barely legal.
Well, I don't think that's right. You see, the legal people would say that the existing promissory note arrangement was totally contrary to...
so that was illegal?
Totally. You know, so my argument all the time was...
So it's an improvement in its legality?
Yeah, I mean, some of the bank people were saying to me, look, what you're saying is illegal. I said to them, it's an awful lot more legal than what you agreed 3 years ago.
And the question that we're asking is, who pulled the billions into the banks and into Anglo-Irish Bank especially? Because that's the crux of the whole problem. Like, we all know that Anglo-Irish and everything else, we all know what they did, and we had the tapes as well during the week. And we know now what kind of guys they were. But the people who were giving them the billions, that's where it started. So they must have known the kind of cowboys they were dealing with. But they gave them the money, they still gave them the money.
I'm here with Frances O'Brien. Could you tell me, what did you achieve in Brussels?
Well, we met Sharon Bowles, and she's head of the Econ, and we found her very sympathetic to our cause, and she got a meeting with Istvan Kelly, and she also did a piece with Paul Cunningham for RTE, and she said she was very surprised that the Irish government, the successive Irish governments, hadn't done something about the legacy debt. But sadly, RTE didn't show it. Yeah, and I have a feeling that why people aren't protesting is that an awful lot of people think everything is going grand. They think that because the government is clapping itself on the back saying, oh, the presidency was great, everything is great, we're getting, Andy Kenny's getting awards from Germany and all this, and the ordinary people don't realise that we are really in debt.
What was his reaction to your meeting?
Well, obviously it's hard for me to say what his feelings about the meeting were. But it was a very interesting meeting. It was a very courteous meeting and a very respectful meeting on both sides. He had a lot of things to say. We had a lot of things to say, and we put forward our case very strongly as regards the justice of the bank debt for the Irish people, and why we felt it was very, very unfair that the ordinary Irish person was carrying really the burden of a debt that was never ours. It wasn't ours then, it's not ours now.
A coward dies, more or less, I'm only paraphrasing, 1,000 deaths. A coward dies many times, but a brave man dies only once. And that's what this government is all about. They're a cowardly government. And everything that they've done has been informed by fear and cowardice. We can't do this because that will happen. We don't dare do this because they might do this to us. It was just fear informed almost everything they did. And I was saying to myself, if the guys who went into the GPO had the same standards, like they'd have turned back at the door. You know, that was just, we can't chance this, like what could happen to us? So the other thing that struck me as well during the week, we were over and at the EC, as you know, and we met István Shakaya. We went over there, and I think this is the biggest thing we did. I think we impressed on a number cruncher the human suffering that's being imposed by all their policies here. And I think it's one thing that they had not taken into account, and that I think that they're beginning to take into account over there. The human suffering that's involved in all their book balancing and all their number crunching. But it's an awful pity that we're now 2 years and 4 months marching. And I think it's an awful pity that at this stage we're having to do our negotiating for ourselves. You know, but we keep at it. We almost have, we don't want to announce anything officially yet, but we almost have, I think, 2 fairly significant announcements to make in the next week or 2. But Fiona has me sworn to secrecy, so I can't tell you, especially there are cameras around the place. You know.
So where do you want to go next, or what's the next step for you guys?
I suppose the next priority for us is to secure a meeting with ECB officials. I think that has always been something that we've wanted, and we were very lucky that Sharon Bowles agreed to help us to try and set that up. We've been to the European Commission. I think it's a natural progression to go to the ECB. I think it's important that we talk to people in the ECB because so much of this debate has centred around the ECB's role in it, and that for me would be the next priority. After that, really this has been an extraordinary journey for the last 2 years, and we never quite know from one day to the next where it's going to take us, but we'll go wherever it takes us, literally.
Okay. So what do you think is the next step for the Ballyhea Charleville movements? Or
yeah, I think we will obviously continue our weekly march and keep growing the Ireland Says No movement, supporting that every which way we can, with information, with we've discussed, you know, sending different people to different marches on their Sunday when they're marching, so that we can give a presence to other marches as well. Assist people that want to set up new groups, but you know, we find ourselves more and more now. Sharon Bowles has said that she will actually request a meeting for us with the ECB, and that is something that we would like to follow through, to meet some of the decision makers in the ECB, to put the hard questions to them. Sharon Bowles herself was very clear that the hard questions have not been asked and should be asked.
Okay, but like, what would be the next step then? Did he give you any recommendations or anything?
He pointed us towards the European Council. Rob Fitzpatrick was one of the guys in with us there. He said it afterwards. He said, like, what we're doing here is peeling the EU onion. You know, the layer after layer after layer that's involved in this thing. Okay. We had no idea of any of this, you know, when we went in there, but he pointed us towards the European Council. And you know, he said, like, the European Council is actually you have the European Union is the Parliament. That's where you have the near 600 members who actually vote on legislation. The European Council, we've discovered, are the people who initiate a lot of the legislation. And this guy is a member of the European Council. So they're the policy makers, but they're the policy suggesters, if you like.
Okay.
And then, like, what they suggest will go to the Parliament to be voted on. Then you have the ECB, which is the central bank of Europe, which is separate and independent of any part of the Parliament. But between the ECB and the EU, you have the Econ Committee, the Finance Committee, Economics and Finance Committee, of which Sharon Bowles is the chair. We've met Sharon. And then you have the European Council, which is all the leaders of all the of the EU states.
Okay.
And so it's another layer. And so we try to meet them, and Herman Van Rompuy is the main man there. But with them, what you're trying to actually do, and he said this as well to us, we have to meet these people and try to persuade them, to persuade their own people or their own parliaments to give Ireland the break that we're looking for, or to give us the right that we're looking for. And that seems to be, to be an awful convoluted way of doing things. We definitely meet them, like to meet Mr. Van Rompuy, to talk to them. But I think, to short circuit all of that, that would take years and years and years. To short circuit all that, I think what we should do now is what we should have done 4 or 5 years ago, which is just to face down, to take on the ECB right now, because the ECB are the power. They are the money men. Take them on right now by just refusing to issue the sovereign bonds that are in the central bank. That's one plank of what we're looking for, that those bonds should not be issued. I don't think we should be looking to anybody to give Ireland a break. I think we should be standing up now and saying we're simply not doing this. We can't actually negotiate with anybody.
Yeah.
Our government are the ones, and the pressure, even though we're trying to put the pressure on Europe, the real pressure that we have to bring to bear here is on our own government to start negotiating on our behalf. Because at the moment the reason that we have to go over their heads is that they're not doing it.
Marcus Howard, test 1, 2.